like that.
Welcome to another question and answer here at a Broadway Upholstery School. Thank you. We've had a lot going on. We haven't stopped working since this pandemic hit, and we just want to review a couple of things before we start. We're going to actually show you a better sense of the showroom, the new showroom, in a few minutes after I get through some of your questions from YouTube. But we're really excited. I mean, we're going to move forward. I mean, we're not going to wait around. We've been working really hard on getting this place set up, and we've been working all kinds of, protocols for having people come into the shop and making people comfortable and all that. And so I just wanted to get right to some of the questions now and from YouTube, and going to go to the art of spitting tacks. We did that video probably a couple of years ago, I think, but it seems to get a lot of interesting comments from it because that was a technique that we used before the staple guns, and actually we had a question about a staple, what type size staples to use. And I'm certainly glad I don't have to spit staples. I don't think I could do that, and I'm glad I don't have to do the tacks. But the question here was, actually I think this was more of a comment about it because we talked about the cotton that you have to, if you swallow a tack, God forbid. I don't advise anybody to do this, but why don't you come on in, we'll get to this. We're going to move, we'll keep it to our Broadway upholstery theme. We went out, we got this little divider here. We're going to put this over here and have you come in. So come on in. So this is from Green Spider. Green Spider says the cotton tip alone was worth it. A thumbs up. So he gives me a thumbs up. So that's interesting. So just further along that line, so if you swallowed a tack, you would take about a golf ball size cotton and swallow that behind the tack, and hopefully what happens is that the tack, the cotton wraps itself around the tack, and the passing is a little bit easier. And now some people believe that stomach acids will do the job too, but I don't know. Thank God I've never swallowed a tack. So the next one is fixing a popped button for free. So I devised a method of how to fix a button from the front of a piece of furniture instead of taking the whole thing apart. That takes the place of what a German needle would do, and a lot of people don't have access to a German needle, don't want to pay for a German needle and the clasps that go along with it. So the comment here was from Wakefield, and she says, thanks for sharing your invented technique, very helpful. Yeah, I'll say, the only thing I will say about that video is that it may not work on very thin fabric. I think you'd have better success on a heavier fabric. I'm not sure if I mentioned that in the video, but at one point I show people with a very thin needle nose pliers, where you actually have to get through the hole that was put in by the button. But if it's a thin fabric, you're going to have a hard time with that. So I guess it depends on the fabric, on how successful you are with that video. So appreciate that comment. Haven't heard from anybody that says that they couldn't do it or that the fabric ripped when they did it or whatever. So last week we had a question from last week from Dave. He says, I think more people will definitely decide to make their homes nicer. We were talking last week about
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Sorry we missed last week. There was a lot going on here, I'll tell you. So we were talking about, that more people are spending time at home, and that maybe the furniture's getting ruined, especially upholstery, because so many people are home, or that they've just noticed that their sofa needs upholstering or whatever. And I think it's going to get really busy. I really do. I do think that we may have to do some adjustment on our prices, just a little tweak down, or in the beginning of this, just to get people rolling again, offer discounts, maybe 10% off on the labor, 20% off on our fabric, which we have been doing. we may implement something that we tried a long time ago. We tried something called sweat equity, where a customer put a little sweat into, by taking a chair apart, for instance. We would train them or send them a video how to do that, and they would save a little bit on that end. So we're going to get really creative on getting more work in, and I'm sure we'll be successful. But anyhow, Dave has a good comment, a couple of good comments. He says, I think more people will definitely decide to make their homes nicer and travel less, but the Walmart nation we live in are slow to look anything besides price, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I do think that the Northeast will always be a better market for nicer things than the South. Thanks for everything you do. It's an interesting, he brings up demographics, geography, demographics. I think that's very interesting. So you have to figure, if you're a Southern upholsterer, you have to figure out a way, if you want to be an upholsterer in the South, maybe commercial upholstery is more beneficial than residential. Or maybe automobile upholstery is better than residential, or vice versa. So you're going to have to find what your stride in whatever you want to do. But I think your decision making should be, if you can make a living, certainly, and focus on that particular aspect of upholstery, depending on where you are. And he's right. Dave's right. In this part of the country, we do a lot of this type of stuff, antiques. This happens to be an antique from England. It's an English customer I have in the Boston area. It's a very nice piece of furniture. This is very old. It's probably about 150 years old. So we do get a lot of that, and people are more willing to put money into antiques. But maybe down in the South, you have more modern furniture, and I think that if that's the case, you're going to have to get creative on your upholstery style, for instance. Maybe you can change the style on a modern looking overstuffed piece into more of a streamlined mid-century piece, something like that. You really do have to get more creative, I think, the tighter the market is. But maybe we could talk a little bit more about that in some other shows. But thanks, Dave, for that. It's very observant, very observant. Thank you for that comment. So then we have a comment on a YouTube video. It's how to upholster. Oh, wait a minute. Upholstering a dining chair, part 4, the arms and the back upholstery. Tevi says, your videos are amazing and please keep talking. I think on one of the videos I mentioned I like talking on the YouTube videos, blah blah blah, and that's my teaching style. But I think somebody said, oh, you talk too much, I have to turn the volume down. But she's commenting on a comment I made about that, about talking, and she says, your videos are amazing, please keep talking, it is very educational, loving your videos, thank you immensely. I can now recycle my old beautiful chairs. That's great. So I'll keep talking, I guess. Now we got a comment from Yaya. We haven't heard from her in a while, have we, Patrick? This was, she's commenting on do-it-yourself upholstery 8-way tie, instructional tie. And I think we did 2 or 3 of those, but I'm not sure which one she's talking about. And she's asking, what do you call that tool that I was using? I think what she was referring to, everybody has questions about the clinch it. I said, that's the clinch it. And Robert from Georgia, actually, he had quite an experience with trying to even rent or borrow one of these clinchets. He didn't want to pay for it. These are expensive, The tool itself is expensive, and then the clinchets you have to buy in a box, those are expensive. So together, the two of them was like $700 or $800. He had one piece of furniture that he was working on. He needed this, but he didn't want to pay that. I don't blame him. So he went around to some of the upholsterers down there, and he had quite an interesting story about, people wanted to rent the machine to him. Sorry about that. Actually, you know who this is, you guys? You might as well take this call. This is Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy, we are live. Would you like to talk a little bit?
You are live?
Yeah, would you like to talk?
I can't hear him.
It was going 5 o'clock today. What was the story?
We had to change it. But we're glad you called in.
Really?
Yes. Now, we want to ask you, how have you been doing? Have you been staying busy?
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Patrick.
What's up?
Well, I'm actually recovering from pneumonia.
Oh my goodness. Are you able to catch breath and talk for a little bit?
Yes, actually much better. I was in the hospital last week, actually 2 weeks ago, and I'm on the meds.
Good.
Yeah, and I've been watching. I've been tuning up with your videos of past shows and lessons.
Great.
So I'm kind of like saying, okay, when this is ready to go, when we can get ourselves back into the shop.
Yeah, we got to get you over here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Jimmy, and have you been watching? Did you see, you're not going to believe, you're not going to recognize the shop when you come over here.
Well, I saw Patrick outside painting, and I'm thinking, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Actually, I drove by last week, and I said, what is going on here?
Yeah, no, we're moving full steam ahead, and nothing's going to stop us, Jimmy.
Oh, I know. But I mean, it's nice, Kevin. I mean, you know what? Everybody needs a little bit of a redo once in a while anyway.
Well, yeah, we felt, Jimmy, that part of the reason we did this, we have nice clean white walls, we have a new floor, everything's brand new, everything is sanitized. We sanitize every one of our fabric books. Hold on, Jimmy. I think we might have a fan. Is this a question for Jimmy, Michaela?
No, it's from Erica.
Oh, hi, Erica.
She said that stay at home has been extended to July in Washington.
Oh, wow. Did you hear that, Jimmy? That
Who's going to say?
in Washington, the stay at home has been extended until July.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, that's tough.
But she has more time to do projects now.
But she says she's got more time to watch you on the online classes.
You want to watch me?
Well,
Really?
I just made that up.
Well, man, you almost had me going there for a second there. You almost had my hopes up high.
So what we're doing is we're having a conversation with you, and at the same time we're answering questions live, and then I'm talking about some of the posts that we had, and it's been fun so far. So is there any more questions?
There's one more YouTube comment.
There's one more YouTube. Hold on, Jimmy. Why don't you stay there in line while I read?
Okay.
This is from Erica.
From Erica.
You want to do
Yeah.
that first?
Yeah.
Okay.
She says, Kevin, I would love a video on the order you should upholster pieces. I'm realizing as I do this that the order matters and is very different for every piece TBC.
Yeah.
For example, something taken completely apart is easier to access, so the order is different for a piece where you're just recovering, and access is more restricted, because when originally done, it was upholstered before it was put together, but to recover it, you don't take it apart, so it changes the order in how it's put back together. I'm realizing all these things after I do a project.
Yeah, it's tricky. Each piece is different too, but for instance, this piece, Jimmy, we got a wing. It's a small wing chair.
Jimmy's watching on here.
Oh, Jimmy, are you watching? Okay, so we have a wing chair, a small little antique wing chair, very small wings. And so what Erica is saying is that some pieces are very hard to access, I guess. But usually the order in almost every piece, except some mid-centuries, yeah, that's another problem, would be the cambric. If you're taking this apart, it would be the cambric, right?
Right.
And then the outside arms and the outside back are loosened. And then you focus on the outside back, you take that off. I'm talking about the old fabric. Then you take out the outside arm and the outside wing, take those off. Usually on the cotton on those, we don't reuse, we just throw everything away, and I don't do patterns, as you've seen. And then what you do is you loosen all the cover on the insides, but don't remove it. This is important, right, Jimmy? You know that. Now, Jimmy,
Yes.
you've done both. You've done a reupholstery and restoration. That's two different things, and I think that's what Eric is talking about. So you have a frame now that you have just the frame. You're just working on the frame, right? So we have to build that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I know we have the inside, we'll be doing the inside arms
Mhm.
and the outside arms.
Mhm.
I don't believe there's, and then the inside back and outside back we have.
That's right, and on your piece, because, and this is interesting, Erica, because Jimmy's starting with, if you can visualize what Jimmy's doing, he's got an he had down to a frame, he has a spring seat, he upholstered the seat, upholstery ready, and the rest of it was still bare. So what we're going to do is, we're going to, before we proceed with anything else, we're going to web and burlap the inside arms and the inside back, and then we're going to upholster the seat. Right? Before we do any stuffing everywhere else, we're going to actually put the fabric on the seat, Jimmy. And then when we put the inside arms and the inside back on, we can just kind of stuff. We don't have to attach any stuffing along the bottom near the seat. We just kind of tuck it in. Bless you. And then we upholster it from there, each piece separately, because it's much more difficult running muslin. We don't do muslin, only in rare cases over horsehair, by the way. I don't know if that's clear, but Erica, so to look at this chair a little bit more. So what happens, then after everything's loose, the old cover and the outsides are taken off, you're going to take off the seat very carefully. You're going to peel the seat away. And this particular chair didn't need much in the way of anything else other than reupholstery. So that's different than Jimmy's chair. So we take the old fabric off, put the new fabric on. We freshen it up with the layer of cotton, put the new fabric on, and attach that whole thing. And then remove the old fabric from the arm, upholster the arm. Remove the other arm, upholster the arm, maybe add up a little cotton, and then the same thing on the back and so on. So I think that what Erica's finding is that, though, beyond every piece is different. And you're going to run into problems. Jimmy, remember you ran into that problem on yours around the ottoman?
Yes.
So sometimes you have to come up with your own solutions too at what's going to look best. Because you mentioned manufacturers, I think, Erica. A lot of times the newer manufacturers are not thinking about reupholstering a piece. They're not thinking about you reupholstering it. So sometimes, like that piece, the Boston Ottoman, Jimmy, we had to figure out a way of upholstering around those legs without taking the legs off.
Correct.
Because what they did was they upholstered pretty much a box, and then what they did was then they attached the legs over the upholstery. Can you believe that? And they glued it with epoxy. Do you remember, Jimmy?
Yes, I was surprised. I had no idea that it was as manufactured versus, again, you probably had no idea that they thought you were going to toss it. They weren't going to think you were going to be doing it.
They weren't. But you know what, Jimmy? As we move forward with I believe that we're going to be doing more manufactured pieces as we move forward. I mean, there's going to be fewer and fewer antiques. But I think people are going to see the value in reupholstering even lower, cost furniture. Because we have ways as upholsterers, and I think I might feature this in some of the videos, new videos coming up, how to enhance a piece of furniture that, wasn't intended to be reupholstered or was bought for very little, and how we can do things to that piece to enhance it and to make it into a very comfortable piece of furniture. Because after all, that's what we're doing, right, Jimmy? We're trying to plump your sorry butt down after a long, hard day of work into a piece of furniture where you say, "Oh, finally, I made this," right?
Yes, I did this. I made it the way I wanted to.
That's right.
And I think that's important, Kevin. I think honestly, that's why when I did took a couple of pieces from my mother's house, I knew that they were solid pieces of furniture.
Right.
I knew what they were.
Yep.
So when I did a couple of refinishing jobs for my coffee table and otherwise, same thing. You just knew. You're looking at it saying, I can do something with this.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to, we're recycling too at the same time. I mean, we don't want to add or contribute to that big plastic island floating around the Pacific. I think there's enough plastic out there.
I think, with some of the modern furniture, you will see, when it's a solid frame versus like, oh my God, I can't do any work with this. It's beyond.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that that's the way the furniture manufacturers do that, because, you say, geez, I like the length of it. I wanted to do something with it, but I can't because the frame is not good.
Yeah, no, we could find ways of enhancing frames and then maybe adding coil springs, or maybe changing out the cushioning to make it into a better piece. I'm going to read to you, Jimmy, I'll have it on the phone. I'm going to try to test you to see what a good student you are. I got a question for you. This is a question from Polly Kick. This is from How to Pat a Cane Dining Room Chair. They're asking, what size staples are you using to attach the jute webbing? And they're looking for width and height of the staple, but I don't know if they do it that way. Do you remember the length, first of all, the length of the staples that we use?
The length of the staples?
I'm just testing you, yeah.
I know it was a half inch.
Well, we do have half inch, yep. We have 3/8 inch and we have 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch you hardly ever see me use. Sometimes I use it for the bottom of like the cambric. The 3/8 inch is the more universal staple, which I have some in my hands, and the half inch are for the jute webbing that he's asking. You use the long staples usually when you're securing the jute, because that's a heavy material, right? Especially when you fold it, right? Now he's asking about the width and the height of the staple. What they do is they go by numbers. So like the one I'm looking at is a number 7 dash 3/8 inch staple. That's how they go by. Now what does the 7 refer to? I'm not quite sure. But these are Empire, EMPIRE staples. And they're one of the better staples, I think. You gotta be careful with staples, Jimmy. You know what happens? Sometimes they put, when they're individual staples and their sleeves are staples, right? I'm gonna take one out. Are you watching, Jimmy? You see that?
Yes, I am. I'm looking at you right now.
So you see, they coat this with some very light adhesive, right? And if they put too much adhesive on that, your gun jams. And if your gun jams, you're in trouble. Your hammer starts to bend a little bit, and then you can break a very expensive piece of equipment with cheap staples. So don't go cheap on your staples, you guys. Try to get a good quality staples. And I guess what I'm going to say too is I'm going to make a little plug to the future here of what we're going to do. We're going to start offering supplies because so many people don't know. They would never know about a staple like that. Did you know that, Jimmy, about that?
Well, I know. I mean, just because you have a half inch versus 3/8, I mean, people think, oh, if it's bigger, it's probably stronger. But you want something compatible with what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's what you have to remember.
So what I'm finding is people have loads of questions if they're going to embark on a career, if they've been doing it, they decided to open up a home shop. There's so many questions about supplies, and you can spend a lot of money on the wrong supplies. So coming up in the near future, once we're through with this craziness, we're going to start offering supplies. I think it's the logical thing to do for people,
Well, you know what, Kevin? I have a project, and I spoke to you quickly about this woman in Beverly who wanted a chair done by you, but with all that was going on, I said, and actually she wanted to take a class, and I tried to get the information, but then, the pandemic thing came around.
Yeah.
But she has a chair for me, and honestly, I believe, looking at the chair, I believe I'm going to be needing quite the order from you.
There you go. You might be the first online customer of supplies.
Well, I said, oh my God, I don't see springs here. Where are the springs in the picture?
Oh, see, this is it. What size spring? I use a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coil, zigzag, what?
Well, I remember you saying to me, Jimmy, the older springs are the more reliable ones because they're solid steel.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And, you're saying to me now, oh, aluminum and steel. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Somebody contacted us about a spring recently. We don't have it in one of our comments here, but I remember. They said, can we use old springs? I said, yeah, as long as they're not rusted. But I remembered that you had rusted springs and you cleaned them up. Remember?
Right. Yes.
So that was a very industrious thing to do because the steel, you wanted to keep the steel springs. Now, he was saying one of the springs was like bent down a little bit. So I said all he had to do is hold either end of the spring and pull it right back into shape. It's so versatile, that steel. It's good old American steel, right, Jimmy?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know what's funny? Because I watch on the TLC channel, not plugging the channel, but there was a show that they do the redo. They do a redo of certain items on this particular show.
Right.
So I thought, my God, if I ever go out there, that's the first thing I'm going to be looking for is upholstery springs.
There you go.
And that's no lie. I mean, I would like to see what these new springs will look like and the durability. But I mean, if you know from having past experiences, you're going to know the difference between quality and like, oh God, now this is what I have in front of me.
That's right. I always equate upholstery to cooking. You're a cook, Jimmy, right? You like to bake, and it's the same thing. You miss one ingredient, or you use a subpar ingredient in a cake, and you're going to have something that's not good, right? It's the same thing with upholstery, and people really, if they learn the skill through us, which they are. We had an amazing call, somebody that's actually learned the skill from the YouTube, which I never expected that. She must be a really good learner, that's all I gotta say, because I really think the online classes you learn more, but she learned from that, and I was impressed. But I was talking to her, I lost my train of thought there about something, but she learned from the YouTube videos. Oh, and if she has the skill, but not necessarily the knowledge of what supplies to use. So we've been around now for 10 years, Patrick, on the YouTube?
Almost.
Almost 10 years.
9, because 2011.
9 years. So what we're finding is people are developing a really good skill, and they see me using supplies, but they're asking questions like, where did you get that? Where did you get that tool? Where did you get that supply? Where did you get that cotton? All those things are coming up now. So
to make it easier, you're even going to be putting everything together in your kits.
Home Depot. You really have to kind of thank God for the internet, because you have a variety of web pages that are out there.
Yeah.
You get the jute, you get the equipment, the hammers, and on and on it goes.
Yeah.
And you try to put it together for yourself.
Jimmy, hold on a second. I'm going to read. You can stay on the line if you can, unless my battery goes out here on the phone. But it's good.
Okay.
It's good to hear your voice. We missed you here at the shop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is from Robert. I think Robert was the one whose wife learned from the YouTube channel, I think. He has a picture. Patrick has that up now, does he? He has that up now. There's a picture of a bench, and it comes from a Mexican restaurant. I'll read it. It says, "This bench seat was dropped off before the lockdown. We'll try to get done soon and get a picture." It says it goes in a Mexican restaurant not far from the shop. And I'm going to give Robert a really good tip here. And his Mexican friends at the restaurant are going to be very happy with him if he does a simple thing. Now, looking at this bench, Jimmy, that's a Naugahyde, right?
Yes.
So that's a non-porous material. It's not like he's got a cloth material there, right? So what I notice on the bench, there's no breathers, no breathing holes, What he should do is, it's going to make for a better job. Simply drill some holes in there. He's going to want to drill maybe 2, 4, maybe 6 holes, maybe a quarter of an inch round, and just drill. And what that will do, believe it or not, that will let the Naugahyde, if he's using, I'm sure he's using a Naugahyde, a vinyl or faux leather. The Naugahyde was the old term, as you know. That will help it breathe and probably last a little bit longer as a result. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you should. I mean, most fabrics, and even in this situation, you want a little bit of airflow, I believe, is beneficial.
Yeah.
A little bit more lasting.
Yeah, now, Pat, what are you trying to do? He's hooking me
That
up.
phone was dying, so
I think Patrick's hooking up an electric chair on me here, Jimmy. He's wired me in, and he didn't even give me a last rites or last supper.
Meal.
Yeah.
Well, is the Dunkin' Donuts down the street open, Kevin?
I don't know. All I saw was an electrical cord coming after me.
Yeah. Well, on the count of 3, Dad, put these together.
Well, I've never upholstered an electric chair, and I hope I never do, because I have a feeling I wouldn't want to upholster an electric chair. Would you, Jimmy?
Well, I don't want someone to say to me, Jimmy, sit in that for a bit. Let me see how it feels.
A real friend would give you a bucket of water to hold on to.
Yeah. Hold this, Jim. Let me see.
That was funny. But you know, I should say Patrick was he was hooking me up with my battery for the phone. So he was not putting me in the electric chair. So don't worry.
You know what? I mean, hopefully he's going to give you a few more years of happiness, Kevin, before he does decide to put that electric chair in you.
We'll see. I'll think about it.
He says he'll think about it. So now, is there any more questions out there?
John checked in from Ireland.
Oh, hi, John from Ireland, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy responded.
Have you ever been to Ireland, Jimmy?
I would love to go, Kevin. I swear to God, I would love to so much go.
I've been a couple of times. I love it over there. To me, I felt right at home. And I think it's not just because of an Irish descent, but I think that anybody that goes over there, the Irish are so welcoming, you wouldn't believe it. I couldn't figure out why they're so welcoming. You know, they are. It's just in their nature, you know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've had a few friends that talk about it over there, and I keep saying, one of these days.
Yeah.
One of these days. I would say Alaska and I would say Ireland would be two places that would want to go.
There you go. Now we got a comment. Now Patricia Baker, she's been very prolific in some of the things that she's done. She's amazing. And Patrick's going to be putting that up on the screen. But she says, after not being able to match a cane-seated settee with new caning, I decided to upholster the seat. Watching your YouTube videos taught me to make the webbing drum tight. Came out beautiful. Made in Italy. Auction find. Wow. That is, Jimmy, that is quite an ambitious project that she did there. And I'll tell you why. That is a very delicate project that she did. Because remember, you know how tight you have to get that webbing on this very dainty looking frame, right?
Yes.
So on the YouTube videos, I offer an alternative to the webbing, which is cutting out a piece of 1/4 inch plywood and using that, and then upholstering that. Now, so some people choose that because they want to try to keep the integrity of the piece. So you can actually upholster a piece without attaching anything to the frame. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to do a couple of screws from the bottom is all you need once you upholster the wood frame and put it on there. It's really
a beautiful job, Kevin.
But what she did here is amazing. So you see that she's got a very generous supply, a very generous weaving on the webbing, on the seat webbing, and then I'm sure she put the burlap over that, but she doesn't say here what type of filling she used. But I bet looking at it, she selected wisely, because when you look at the upholstered piece, it's not too big. It's not she didn't take away from the lines of the piece of furniture by adding a 2-inch piece of foam on that, right?
Right.
That would be too thick. She built it up, but not. What you have to remember on these cane pieces, they're made as they are, flat with the caning, and they're scaled to that way. So you can't go overboard on the stuffing.
Right.
She did an excellent job, and the fabric she used, it looks like it's a geometric, like a heavy upholstery weight fabric, and I really can't see.
That is a classy material, Kevin. That is a beautiful pattern.
And you know, that's a type of piece of furniture you put in a foyer area.
Yeah.
And you put your, in the morning when you're going out or you're coming home, put your shoes on or off, and put your shoes underneath their little storage area. So that's a nice piece. I wonder if she did it for herself.
You know what, Kevin? It'd be nice then if it's too bad some of these projects that these people do, they don't videotape themselves doing it, and that you kind of could say, let's see how you did it. I'd love to see how you went from this to that.
Right.
We actually did get one person who videoed. Remember that? Who videotaped himself. Somebody
did show us a video. I think it was Robert. When it wasn't her showing, it was her showing me something else, like horse hair she had.
Robert's wife?
Yeah, I think so. Jimmy, stay on the phone if you like, unless you have to go. I'm going to get up and show people how to measure a chair.
Okay, I'm going to watch you, Kevin. I haven't seen you, so...
Okay.
So, Jimmy, just put some comments down on the comment area.
He says, can you please comment on the comment area once we let you go?
Some wisecracks.
Yeah.
We accept wisecracks as long as they're clean wisecracks.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah. Go ahead. All
right. Thanks, Jimmy, for calling. Thanks for calling.
All right, Kevin, you take care.
Take it
See ya,
easy.
Jimmy.
Bye bye.
Bye, bye.
All right, now we got two other things to talk about.
What do we got? You want to talk about that now?
Yeah, might as well. Do the project at the end.
What are we doing?
Where's the piece of paper I gave you?
All right. So before I get on to this, if I have time for this now, I'm not sure if I'm going to have time. So we want to talk about the photos. Patrick's going to throw up some photos of the renovations that we've been doing, and also he's going to show you what our plans about reopening and trying to abide by as much as we can as you know, we never could figure out are we non-essential or essential. Part of what I do is moving. I move furniture. So that is an essential business. The other part, upholstering, I would say non-essential. But once I upholster a piece of furniture, I have to become a mover. So, you know, but we're going to, Patrick's going to throw up these reopening plan. It's going to show you what we're going to do. And maybe it'll give you guys out there, if you have an upholstery shop, I guess depending on what part of the country you live in, too, and what your governor is telling you guys, or what part of the world you are in. This is what we're going to be doing based on what our governor is saying. He is saying that on the 18th, May 18th, that we will be, he's going to be announcing, right, Patrick? Announcing how we're going to proceed, how non-essential or some businesses are going to proceed. So we're going to try to abide by that as much as we can, obviously. We want to make sure that that's right. But we also, each business owner has to devise their own sets of you know, protocol. I mean, that's kind of a hard thing to do too. You know, you see hesitation in my voice because this is all new to us. We've never done this before. Never had to do this before. So, do you have that up there now,
Yeah, I
Patrick?
put some pictures of the renovation. That's what we've been doing for the last, what, 3 weeks then?
You have
4
the
weeks, I
right.
don't know. Since this started, we pretty much started, right?
Yeah, we figured we're gonna get through this. We're just gonna move forward. We're gonna focus on the future and the positive future that we're gonna have. And we think there will be some changes, but you know, hopefully, I've always believed that this thing's gonna go away just like that, as early as this week, just like that. I do firmly believe that. But I think the remnants of this pandemic is gonna be very cautious people. So we want to try to work with people, you know, for instance, when I talk to a client now, we ask them, you know, do you prefer a pickup in the driveway, or do you prefer me to come into the house with the mask on, or, you know, so it's just communication. It's nothing different than what we've been doing. It's, you know, as far as the communicating part of it. You know, we want to make people feel good also about the job. We know we're going to do a good job, a good project, but maybe this is a good time for people to work on their pieces, you know, to make them feel good about being home for, if they have to be longer, like Erica, home longer, why not, you know, make your space nice, like she's doing. So that's what we're hoping. Do you have the photo of the policy up there, Patrick?
That's coming up with a few more of these.
So I don't have that in front of me.
Did a lot of stuff, so we got a lot of stuff.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
I can
'Cause
print one out for you.
I don't have that in front of me. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you know, hand sanitizer is very hard to come by around here. So we've been collecting. I almost said hoarding, but that's not true at all, because we're not hoarding. What we're doing though is, you know, they're making available every 2 or 3 weeks. There's this little things that little hand sanitizer things like this big. I don't know how many, probably 2 ounces, that come available with the local store down here, which I usually get 2 of them if I can. But what we're trying to do is collect enough in order to have a good supply here at the shop, because we're not a supermarket. We don't get those big hand wipes that they have in there. You know, we have to do what you guys do: go to the store and just you have to be lucky, I guess, to get this hand sanitizer. And you know, we're going to make available our books. We sanitize every single one of our fabric books. Which was quite a job. Thank you, Michaela.
That picture is up right now of you doing that.
We all did
that. Michaela did most of the work on that.
You know, that was quite a job. And I think what we're going to do is, when people come in, we're going to have a beautiful books that are sanitized. Then we're going to have a sanitized box of some sort. We haven't done that quite yet. We're not there yet. But after somebody comes in and they look through the fabrics, we're gonna put that in a box, and then they'll get sanitized again and put back on the shelf, things like that. You know, common sense stuff, and be really proactive in this, hand washing and all that, and keep the 6 feet. We've designed the front of the shop so that when somebody comes in.
I got the, you wanna go through each one?
Okay, when somebody comes in, you know, we have that rope, that's why we have that rope, just to give people a sense of that separation, so I guess I'll read this. So, grand reopening, freshly remodeled and sanitized showroom, and then Patrick asked the question, how's that furniture holding up after weeks inside, looking for a fresh start? We're here to help with all of your reupholstery needs. And then Patrick's got the Upholstery on Broadway Stage 1 policies, what we're doing to ensure you're comfortable. We've organized the showroom meetings, meaning people call, we set up an appointment, they come in. And our showroom has been rearranged to ensure social distancing and limiting face-to-face contact. Also, with the nice weather coming here, we'll make sure we have a back window and a back door, open that, just to get some airflow in here, maybe hesitate on opening the front, because this is a neighborhood where anybody or a dog could walk in, we don't know. So just the back door. Of course, we have AC, so hopefully we could keep the back door open and the AC, you know, just to keep the airflow going. So we're hoping to be open for walk-ins during our next stage, not this stage, but the next stage. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We encourage singles or couples, limit of groups of 2 maximum. You know, we used to have families come in, you know, that people would, I'm pretty sure people know now, we don't have to say that, but, you know, we can't have 4 or 5 people from a family come in at once, or could we? I guess they're from the same family. I haven't really thought this one out really clearly. What do you think about that, Patrick? If they're a family,
we don't really care.
we don't care. If they're a family, why shouldn't they come in?
Use them more for the customers.
I guess 2 couples can't come in at once. You know, that probably is not sensible. But if you're a family of 10, come on in.
Get 10 couches.
If you're a family of 10, you're living together without masks on. Come on. I mean, you know, that's fine. No more than 10 though, right? Meetings will be.
I don't think that's ever happened ever.
No, it hasn't. Although I love big families. I'm from one of 9. Meetings will be appointment only. We're hoping to open for walk-ins during our next stage. I just read that. We encourage singles or couples, limited groups of 2 maximum. Face coverings are encouraged. Weather permitting, meetings can be held outside on our sidewalk. Why not? That's a great idea. That can happen. Or in the back, we have a back alley where it's less noise.
In the same alley that, you know, Jimmy was hot finding the furniture.
And then finally, for folks preferring more limited contact, we are still, now this is interesting because we're still offering over the phone internet services that includes labor estimates and fabric consulting by Facebook. We can pick up the furniture on your driveway or on your porch as to avoid face-to-face contact. And we can do that for forever, you know, that's fine. We're willing to do that. We do that for free, by the way. Free pickup and delivery we're offering, which is another you know, encouraging thing that we're trying to get people to reupholster. You know, that has a good value to it, really, I think. And then our phone number, and that's it, right, Pat?
Yep, and there's our new sign that Michaela did a good job on.
Yep. You showing that now?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm.
There's what we did for the showroom. Looking good.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
And there's our fabric.
we're inventing this. A lot of this is, you know, the information keeps coming out every day is new information. So, if you sense a little bit of a fogginess on my part, it's because of that. We're still, you know, we're inventing this as we go along. But we think now we have a good grip on this, though, for Monday, the Monday's opening. So we're very encouraged here in Massachusetts, at least, and I hope, Erica, in Washington State, it gets better for you. So I think for a couple of minutes, Patrick, I have a couple of minutes. I just wanted to measure this chair because it dawns on me, Michaela, right, that I've only shown how to measure, I think, on a piece of 8 by 11 paper, and I think people might not get a really good idea what I'm doing on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to measure this chair, and this will be the last thing we do, the entire chair for new fabric. And instead of on an 8 by 11, I'm gonna be over here, and I'm gonna draw. First of all, I'm gonna draw a slash line down like this, and a slash line over like this, and a line like this, and a line like this. So what this is indicating up and down, and this is side to side, right? And I never put the arrows when I do it. I don't want to confuse myself. So I just wanted to show you these are the measurements that we're going to be putting here. Okay, so and then down here we describe each section. See, right? And we have inside arm, which I'll say IA, and I'll put a little less in there for inside arms. We're going to use 2 of those. Inside back, outside arms, outside wings, and outside back. Now, you might have think, people saying, oh, you forgot the inside wings. I did something very interesting on this chair. And it did have a separation. It had a seam here before, and it did have a separate inside arm and inside wing that was sewn together. But I decided, I think I can get that all in one piece. So I did, actually. I couldn't believe I did it. But so I measured the inside arm and the inside wing as one piece. So we might as well do that now. So I'm going to go through here where it's going to be tacked underneath, and it rolls over to the outside. So I got 38 plus 3. We always give ourselves 3 inches, right, guys? 41. So 3 inches is for stretching, 1.5 inches stretching on each side. So 41 up and down. Now, you guys remember this can waste fabric too when you do that, because this was cut out in one piece. So all of this up here could be waste, but I actually used that piece for the outside wings. So I very rarely waste anything, but this all has to be plotted out. I'll tell you, the reason I like the idea of making this one float piece is it just look at it. I mean, it's a beautiful fabric. I love this fabric. It's a trees, so it flows nicely instead of having the seam there. Sometimes you can't always do this. You need that seam, but this one worked out good. So let's do side to side. You have to go all the way up here and carry your tape measure down here to get this furthest point, which is 32 plus 3, 35. 35. And then you seat front to back. 33 plus 3, 36. 36. Side to side. You got 30 plus 3, 33. Inside back, up and down. Going right through to the wood, and then around back to the wood, right? Where you're going to be tacking. It's 37 plus 3 is 40. And then side to side, we got 25. Outside arms. Now the outside arms, I was running out of fabric, so I didn't have enough fabric to make this all one piece, so I had to divide this up. This is going to have a seam here. So we're going to go up and down 20, and then side to side 28. I'm going to measure that 28 again to see if I can get 27, because that's half of our width of fabric, right? Yes, I'm going to adjust that, and you guys know why, right? Because fabric is 54 inches, right? So if I can get 2 out of a width, we always have to think about saving fabric, right? There we go. Now the outside wings, up and down. Up and down, we got 22 plus 3, that's 25. And I want to show you something about this. Hold on a second, 25. This gets people a little bit mixed up sometimes. See you have a chair slants back, right? But you have to measure this with the fabric, because the fabric has definitely a vertical, right? You have to measure this so that the fabric's put on straight, not like this. So a lot of people just measure from here to here and they say 7 inches or 9 inches, and that's not right. It actually is from here, draw the measure from here, believe it or not. So you're going to see the difference between 9 inches and 12 plus and 15 inches. It makes a big difference because you wouldn't be able to get that on straight if you didn't make that 15 inches. You follow me? This is the outside bag. I'm just going to make one point. I'm going to do the outside bag. Up and down, we got 35 plus 3 is 38. And then side to side. I was just thinking about Patrick when he's coming over with that plug. I didn't know what he was doing. And 3 is 25. Okay, so now your job is to figure out how to cut the fabric and not running out of fabric. So what you do is when you're looking at your let's just move this over here. You look at your measurements before you start cutting. You always cut your best cuts first. And now you see your outside arms and the inside back are both these. You need 2 of these. 20 and 20 is 40. And then you have the width measurements are perfect. So those would be the 2 that I would cut first, right? Then I may cut the inside arms. So this is 1, 2, 3. I think cut the inside arms 3rd, and then the outside wings 4. And then your seat is pretty much by itself. You can go 5 here, and then the outside back 6. So if you just measure as you go, you guys have seen the videos, you're always going to run out of fabric, so don't do that. Always plot out, and if you're really tight on fabric, you can revisit these measurements and then see if it works with the amount that you have. So I hope that explains things. Sorry about a little bit of, we're kind of in a fog like everybody else these days today. We're doing so many things to try to just keep moving, keep the momentum going. We know we're going to succeed, and I want you guys to succeed too at home. So until next time, thank you.
Lauren just checked in at the end, but
oh, thanks, Lauren.
But please go back and rewatch the video. We did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, it was fun too. We had some funny segments that you might like, Lauren. Are there any more questions, Michaela?
Nope.
Okay. So thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Hopefully next week, right, Patrick?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, definitely next week. We're back.
Thanks, guys.